The Nintendo Wii is one of the most underrated modern consoles in the history of video games. Such a fantastic console that takes a beating because of things like the motion controls, which a lot of people found gimmicky, and because of the fact that with such a huge library, about 1,800 games on the Nintendo Wii, so many of those games were what people call shovelware. Just, garbage, poor quality games. However, there is a huge number of fantastic Wii games that end up flying under the radar just because they get lost in the mix of all those hundreds and hundreds of garbage games. So today we want to take a look at our top 10, and I say our top 10 because I've got Shawn here from the Electronic Emotions program, and I want to take a look at our top 10 non-Nintendo, so third-party Nintendo Wii games. Shawn, say hello.
Hello, is it me you're looking for? I can see it in your eyes. I can see it in your...
So our top 10 Nintendo Wii games that are not Nintendo published. Let's get into it. Number 10. First game I want to mention here, and this game has a bit of significance as another game on this list also does, and that is Pandora's Tower. This game came from a little fan project called Operation Rainfall, where fans knew that there were several games that had been released in Japan, and the likelihood of them being released in North America at that time was pretty slim. So fans put together online petitions, and they actually got this game and a couple of others localized in North America, and this is one of them. Pandora's Tower is a very, very unique JRPG. It's got a really interesting story where, there's a girl who basically gets infested by a demon or something, and the main protagonist has to go out and kill demons and get body parts from those demons to bring back to the girl for her to eat them in order to survive. Kind of a weird premise, but it turns into some really interesting gameplay and a really dark and twisted story that you really wouldn't expect to see on the Nintendo Wii. So Shawn, what have you got for us next? Number 9.
My first game is Little King's Story. It's just one of those games like Pikmin where you have a character you control that controls a bunch of other characters with different jobs to accomplish what you need to do, and in this case, to build your kingdom. And I like games like that where you start off with a small little town or whatever, and you build it up into a massive kingdom or something, and it's really neat. It's a mix of strategy and action and just management of things that isn't quite as dry as SimCity, though that's fun too.
Number 8. Alright, so for my next game, I've got Klonoa. Now this is a little bit of a rare and expensive game on the Wii. You can expect to pay upwards of the price of a new game for this, or at least probably somewhere between $40 and $50 Canadian, maybe a little bit less in the United States, but Klonoa is a fantastic tight platformer with a great story, really beautiful visuals. It's based on a PS1 game. It is a remake, but it is absolutely one of the best platforming experiences on the Nintendo Wii and really shouldn't be missed. Number 7.
Rayman Raving Rabbids, completely different than Little King's Story. It's just a kind of a big mini-game collection where you're just trying to... I don't know why they captured him, and they want him to play minigames so he can just entertain them, I suppose. But he gets free. In the end, is the idea. And the whole time through, you're playing all these wild, random games that are really fun. A couple little control issues due to it being I think it's a fairly early Wii game. But there's some great songs in it, where they're dancing, and you've got some real music licensed. You've got on-rail shooter elements in the game. And I just had a really fun time with it. I played it all the way through, and man, I don't know if it was that or the TV show, but I love the Rabbids characters, and I should hate them. They're really annoying, but I love them, and I love that they crossed over with Mario and Rabbids, that strategy game, and I want to see what's next for them. It's been a few years since we've had a Rabbids game, and I want more.
Number 6. So for my third game on this list, and this is another platformer, but a pretty unique one, and that is Lost in Shadow. Lost in Shadow has some really unique gameplay, at least for the time, where your main character and his shadow play kind of back and forth. They play roles in the platforming where you're basically controlling the guy's shadow, and all of the platforming is done in the background of the video game. So it's really interesting to see how they play off that kind of depth perception and getting him and his shadow through different kinds of platform scenarios and things like that. It's an absolutely visually beautiful game. The story is really nice, and yet the gameplay is like nothing I've ever played before. I absolutely recommend this game. It's very high on my personal list. I absolutely love this game. You should check it out because it's actually a pretty cheap game on the Nintendo Wii. You can pick it up for probably $10 or $15, maybe $20, and it's absolutely worth every penny. So Shawn, where are you going to take us next?
Number 5.
I'm not a fan of reboots or remakes. There's exceptions, of course. You know, the Resident Evil 1 remake, loved it. You know, the RoboCop movie remake, I don't hate that it exists. It's got some interesting ideas. But for the most part, I just make a sequel, you know. But this one is a reimagining, let's say. It's Silent Hill Shattered Memories. It's basically the first game kind of retold in a really interesting way. It was released on the Wii, the PS2, and the PSP. The reason I would always play on the Wii is because that's the one I have. But the reason I chose that one is because you use the Wiimote like a flashlight for the exploration sections. The game is split into two parts. Exploration, which is completely just a mood-driven, atmospheric adventure game. And then it's broken up by kind of semi-awful running sequence where you can't fight, you just have to run away. And they're not bad once you get used to them, but they're not super great. But overall, the game is really good. It's got some really neat psychological kind of analysis ideas, where if you stare at, say, pictures of scantily clad women like on the wall for too long, it'll register that and kind of give you a personality assessment by the end. Overall, it's a really different take on the original story, not just a remake. It's not followed up or anything. It doesn't cut off the rest of the series and starts going down this path instead. It's just a really neat side story, another way of looking at it.
Number 4.
So not to beat a dead horse with the platformers, this one again has some very unique gameplay. Ivy the Kiwi was originally a Windows mobile game ported to the Nintendo DS and the Nintendo Wii the next year, I believe in 2010. And this has always been a rather rare game on both systems. Now you could argue that maybe the controls are a little bit better on the Nintendo DS because you're using the stylus. In this game, you do not directly control the character, the little kiwi bird. It's kind of a constant runner where she runs until she hits an obstacle and then runs back the other way. You actually control her by drawing these little ivies across the screen for her to run up, and you direct the ivies in different angles and things like that to get her up on different platforms. And kind of like Angry Birds, you can drag the ivy down and slingshot the bird up through obstacles and things that are breakable. Really, really interesting, creative platform mechanics that presents just a kind of a whole new style and a whole new challenge to people who are used to traditional platformers. I highly recommend this game. It is a little bit more expensive because it is a rare game, or at least an uncommon game on the Wii. Whether you choose the DS or the Wii is up to you, whether you like the motion controls of drawing with the Wiimote or whether you like the stylus controls on the DS is up to you. I like the Wii controls and I would highly recommend this game. So Shawn, we're getting towards the end of the list. What is your next recommendation, brother?
Number 3.
All right, brother. Wait, no, I'm not a child. You're not my brother. I'm not your brother. What are you talking about? My next recommendation, though, is Trauma Team. Little Atlas title there. I'm sure you have it already, right? I love this series. There's 4 games in them. 5 if you consider Second Opinion to be a separate game, which you should. But it's 4 stories. And this one is, I think it's my favorite one. The last is my favorite one. People have issues with it because it takes away from just being surgeries. But I love all the aspects of it. And I think it is a crime, punishable by prison, maybe even death, that no one put it on the Wii U, a new Trauma Team, a 5th game. With that pad, there's so many things you could do. You could have like x-rays, you could have like a tray for your tools, while still using the motion control for actually doing a surgery. Sad thing is, I don't know if Trauma Team has a place in the world now. I mean, handheld mode on the Switch, maybe? Because I really feel that Trauma Team really thrives with unique controls like touchscreen or motion controls. It actually worked way more surprisingly than it should have. My first thought was like, I want to see one in VR. Like PlayStation VR should have a Trauma Team, but I like the simplicity of Trauma Team. It's 2D visuals, very simplistic. Maybe they could find a way to make it work. There's people way more imaginative than myself. I am now William Shatner. But you know what? Even if it sucks, I want to see another one. And then I can be like, I don't want it anymore because that sucks. Whatever.
Alright, before I get into my number 1 pick, I want to mention kind of an honorable mention. This is more than an honorable mention, to be honest. I couldn't decide between these 2 games for number 1, so I'm going to call this game number 0. Sorry, Shawn, if that breaks the rules. But my number 0, or my honorable mention, is Castle of Shikigami 3. If you are into shoot-em-ups and you have not played this game, this is by all means the best shoot-em-up on the Nintendo Wii, and one of the best modern shoot-em-ups since the 16-bit era that I have ever played. I think the only shoot-em-up that I could say since the 16-bit era that I think is better than this one is Ikaruga on the GameCube, which I also have perhaps show in another video. I absolutely love shoot-em-ups. I cut my teeth on the TurboGrafx 16 with games like Sidearms and Final Soldier, and absolutely love this style of game. And the graphics in this are fantastic. The gameplay is fast-paced, and I absolutely love the way that this game seems fair and balanced. So it is difficult, but if you practice, you can get through this game, and you can do it in a couple of hours, which is really great. So if you haven't played Castle of Shikigami 3, do yourself a favor. Go out and get this on the Nintendo Wii. Fantastic game, little bit more on the expensive side. You're not going to pick this up for $10 unless you get really lucky. Probably going to spend $30 or $40 on this, but it is absolutely worth every penny. So anyways, Shawn, I'll let you get into your number 1 game here, and then I'll be right back. So Shawn, what do you got for us?
Number 2.
How dare you? The top 10 list is a sacred, sacred institution. You can't just go changing the rules and putting a 0 on there. Might as well put it 11, huh? Maybe that. Spinal Tap it. Nah, I don't care. You mentioned that it was an honorable mention. That's perfectly fair within the rules. I'm not going to do it, though. I'm just going to give you my last one, and then I'm out. Okay? I don't have time to do 6 games. But anyway, 5th game. Zack and Wiki. No one talks about it. Capcom. Good company. They don't do much wrong. Okay, they do a lot wrong, but their games are usually still pretty good. This one, just like Little King's Story, it had a little bit of people talking about it, and then boom, don't talk about it anymore. It's a point-and-click adventure game that features, nice 3D graphics, clever puzzles, charming story, great motion controls that aren't overused, but when they are, they're, a nice touch, and it's just a really good game. I've only played a few levels in it. I think there's only 20, but they can be really tough. I really want to get through it, but I also don't want to finish it because I don't think there's any other games just like this one. And when I beat it, it's like gone, done. It'll be done. It's over. Just like me. I think I'm out. I'll let you finish up, and I'll be back next time. Goodbye. I hope I was what you were looking for.
Number 1.
Okay, so for my number 1 game, I did mention that I was going to be listing 2 games from the Operation Rainfall trilogy, and that, for me, is The Last Story. This game was designed by the guy who created Final Fantasy, It is absolutely a love letter to the Nintendo Wii. This game pushes the boundaries of what the Nintendo Wii is capable of. It has a beautiful story. It has awesome action combat that evolves with you. The game is divided into chapters similar to what you would see in kind of an action game, a third-person action game like an Uncharted or something, where you go through different types of stories to get to the end. The other really cool thing about this game is that it's actually fairly short. If you've got 20 or so hours that you can invest in this game, you probably will complete it, which is fantastic for a JRPG because so many of them these days are 50 or 60 or 70 hours or more. For me, I really love a game that I can get into and get out of in, a couple of weeks. I really, I love a lot of these JRPGs, but some of them are just so overwhelming in terms of the time that you need to invest in them in order to get what you want back out of it. So absolutely recommend The Last Story. You don't necessarily need to pick up the big beautiful box set here. You can pick this game up for probably $30 or $40 loose, and you might pay 60 or 70 for this nice little box set here. But either way you choose to buy it, one of the best JRPGs on the Nintendo Wii. Some people might say Arc Rise Fantasia belongs on this list, but I think Arc Rise Fantasia had a few problems that just kind of knocked it just below this list. Definitely a recommendation, but I would say this and Pandora's Tower are the best non-Nintendo JRPGs you can get on the Wii. So anyways, guys, what did you think of this list? What are some of your favorite non-Nintendo third-party games on the Nintendo Wii? Let us know in the comments. Shawn and I both are always looking for new and great experiences, and the great thing about the Nintendo Wii is with hundreds and hundreds of games on the system, there are always new gems and hidden gems to discover, and chances are you've played some of them that we haven't, so let us know in the comments. If you're new here, subscribe. We do stuff like this all the time. Absolutely hit the like button if you would. It helps out a ton, more than you could possibly know. Anyways, guys, thanks Shawn for helping me with this list, and for all of you out there, stay classy.